Be understated how important it is that these teams of five at least get along when they're out there on the field.
Right. Well, we are getting into the picks and bans,
Yeah.
so why don't we just list through them here? We have Team Dynamic is banning out Malphite, Nocturne, very standard bans right now. Nocturne considered one of the top junglers, Malphite one of the top laners. Yorick and Shyvana coming out, so again another top lane ban and then another jungling ban coming out on the part of mTw. A little bit surprising for the Shyvana bans. I have seen a little bit of that, but not as much. I'm wondering, do you think that that's a targeted ban potentially against Team Dynamic?
I got to say, it's been so long since I've seen Atlanta in the jungle. I kind of see it as hard to take, or as hard to guess on. Zion Spartan, their top laner, not known for Shyvana play. I mean, he's much more well known for his Aurelia, Shin play, things like that. Of course, Yorick has been really popular as a top lane ban lately, as his lane phase is just so strong. That was something that wasn't a secret in Europe for a very, very long time. But yeah, the Shyvana ban, as near as I can guess, possibly Atlanta and Scrims has been showing some Shyvana jungle.
Then, not surprising, the Zyra ban there for the last one. The word is that Zyra is really, really strong. The forums go back and forth on whether she's overpowered or not, but it seems pretty clear that she's very, very strong. So it looks like mTw just going to take that right out of the pool, not going to deal with that. First pick for Dynamic is Alistar, a very nice, very solid first pick because of his versatility, can be used as a jungler, can also be used as a support, is very strong in both roles. And mTw trying to pick who they're going to decide who they're going to pick up with here. Getting a little thrown off by the new art that they just introduced for Ezreal.
Yeah, I saw it, and I was like, who is that? Oh my god, that's Ezreal.
keeps bringing over more of the Chinese art. I'm not a big personal fan of that. I know some people love the Chinese art. I don't personally, but it looks like that is going to be the pick here for mTw.
Yeah, and Ezreal and Afro move bot lane. Like I said, if you get some maneuverability underneath Afro move, he becomes so hard to pin down, so hard to answer back to. He wins trades a lot just based on his ability to get around effectively. Lee Sin coming out, of course, played both top lane and in the jungle, and Alistar out. He's been a very popular jungle pick and ban lately. Kind of makes sense that they didn't ban him against Muff and Cutie since they were planning to bring him out first pick.
I'm not surprised by the Ezreal pick. Ezreal's been really popular lately, and Aphromoo, as you said, is very good on Ezreal. I'm a little surprised by the Lee Sin, just that they picked Lee Sin so early. We haven't seen Lee Sin as much lately. For ages and ages on end, he was a super popular pick, both as a jungler and as a top laner, but we haven't seen him as much lately. So I'm not sure if mTw has a particular strategy in mind with that pick. It's just a little bit surprising to see that as one of their first two, with so many other things free to pick, but they must have something in mind there. Anyway, Dynamic going with the Graves Nunu. It's probably going to be, well, actually, it could be Nunu jungle, it could be Alistar jungle. I'm actually not entirely sure which way they're going to go. Maybe you have an idea, if you've seen them more often, Wombat, what they like to run with those two picks there. I'm not sure.
Yeah, Dynamic for me is, like I said, it's one of the ones that I just haven't seen quite so often lately. I gotta think with the changes to the way they're working the bot lane on Alistar, maybe Nunu is going to fit a little bit more with TD's classic sort of strategy of just playing all aggressive all the time. It feels like that'd be the great way to go because, of course, Alistar's ganks are really, really top class. But, yeah, we'll see, man. It really could go either way.
I guess we'll just see. We'll have to figure out what they decide to do. We won't know until the last minute. We do have double AP picks coming out then for mTw. Rumble in top, Morgana in mid, presumably, on the picks there. Rumble was getting all kinds of play. His Q, his flamethrower, just got buffed, but it was almost sort of a overly. They went a little bit too far, Riot did, and he was considered to be overpowered. But I believe that they fixed that in the patch that just came out today. I believe that they put that back to the way it was, or pretty close to it. So Rumble saw a lot of play over the last week, but we might not see quite as much play. And then, wow, look at this, the Nidalee pick on from Dynamic. Wow, that's a very surprising pick there.
Zion Spartan, he's going to switch back over to Aurelia at the last minute. I was about to say, man, Zion Spartan's one of those guys. He's going to go back to Nidalee. Looks like he's going to stick with it. Is he trolling us again? No, he's not. He's going to stick with the Nidalee pick. And Zion Spartan's one of those guys, man. When he has a good game with Nidalee, he has an amazing game with Nidalee. It can really go either way, though, especially up against Rumble. I think it's actually going to help him out a bit against Rumble. If he's able to zone him out if he needs to, it could be showing us a little bit of that Zion Spartan that we've started to see of late, where he's not aggressive 100% of the time. A couple months ago, you could count on Zion Spartan to almost just throw top lane if he couldn't land those kills. Lately, he's started to play a little bit smarter. He's fighting his opponents. If he's losing his lane, he's really matured as a player to be able to just stand back and farm it up, poke when he can, and not be quite so blatantly aggressive, and that Nidalee pick could be hinting at that going up against such a dominant laner as Rumble.
Well, that does suggest that that Dynamic's going to go for a little bit more of that poke team comp when you pick Nidalee, or that Nidalee's just going to be off there on an island, sort of off by herself, split pushing, as opposed to mTw, which clearly has more of a team fighting team. And then, wow, look at these picks. Very interesting picks. We've got Lulu as a support for mTw, just as you mentioned in our pregame show there. Going along with that, so it's going to be very interesting to watch watch that Ezreal Lulu lane. It's going to be very fun to watch. I don't think I've seen that lane before. And then just so we can mention the last pick from earlier, Dynamic did pick up Orianna. I really enjoy Orianna. I think that she's one of the most creatively designed champions. She's a lot of fun to watch. It's going to be a nice matchup in mid against Morgana there. So got the lineup set here. We'll be just got to run out the clock here, and then we'll I guess we've got a couple of minutes here to discuss these matchups before we get into the game itself.
Yeah, and I gotta say, Paradoxical is one of my favorite mids to watch operate. The guy, he can bring out Orianna, do a fantastic job. He's got such a great range of champions. He's really up there as far as what he can bring out. It makes him one of those people as a mid laner that's nearly impossible to sort of shut out. There are a couple of mid lane players in the top sort of end of the competitive scene that if you get rid of their core champs, they fall off just a little bit. But Paradoxical's got a really great range. He's really able to bring some scary stuff to the table.
This is okay, so it looks like it is going to be Nunu jungle and Alistar support now that the teams have actually locked in their picks based on there. So that's something that we used to see about a year ago. Nunu was a really, really popular jungler at the end of Season 1. He was the #1 jungler you saw and played at DreamHack in that big tournament over and over again. But when the changes to the Season 2 jungle came out, he got hit pretty hard just because of the way his consume worked. It didn't really scale that well with the smaller camps that respawn more often. But the recent Nunu buffs have kind of brought him back again, and he's one of those junglers that can run around the map really fast with his Blood Boil and go in and counter jungle. He's always been known for his counter jungling. So it looks like Dadlanta is going to try to do that here, and we're going to have the very aggressive Graves Alistar lane, so lots of crowd control in bottom lane for Dynamic. And then that's going up against the Ezreal Lulu lane, which I just haven't seen that lane hardly ever. And for me, that's really the lane to watch, just because, again, Lulu, we really haven't seen her played much as a support on the competitive scene, particularly not with Ezreal, because when Lulu first came out, Ezreal was considered one of the weaker ADs. So for me, that's the lane that's most interesting to watch, although, of course, we'll be keeping an eye on everything else. Yeah. So what are your thoughts on this, Wombat, going into this matchup?
I really do say bot lane is going to be a fun one. Up top, I'm interested to see if Balls is going to be able to get in. Balls is a really, really solid jungler up top, if he's going to be able to get in and get some work done. Of course, anytime Dadlanta's on the field playing jungle, I got to be interested in that. But like you said, that bot lane, very, very interesting. Lulu's kit was overlooked for a very, very long time, and now obviously you've got guys like Patoy and Muffin Cutie showing you that it's very much possible to take her down bot lane. She doesn't have to be a damage dealer, but she does fit in to that trope of the aggressive bot lane support. Not necessarily a kill lane, because she does have a shield. Obviously it's not as good as the Janus shield, but they finally seem to have gotten people to at least think about checking out the other support players. Karma's not quite back in there yet, but her remake's coming. We got to believe, and someday we'll see Karma back out on the field. But yeah, Lulu is able to put out pretty decent damage early on, even if you don't put anything special on her, like Cage's Lucky Pick, or try to do anything tricksy like that. But the polymorph is great. It gets up to a pretty good little polymorph duration early on. The shield's good. The speed boost also coming off of her W, just like the polymorph, is good. She's got a really good kit for doing
right. I mean, the thing about her kit is it's got so much versatility. She basically has 6 skills if you can use them. So the reason why people weren't playing Lulu is people just love the other supports more. And I guess the impression is that the way that we get here is Riot just has relentlessly nerfed the other supports over and over and over again, much to the tears of chagrin of all of these Sona and Janna and Soraka players, myself included. But Riot just trying to force people to play other champions beyond the sort of the standard set that we're used to, and I guess that we're seeing the effects of that as people branch out and try more other champions. I mean, we have seen champions like we have seen Leona played, we have seen a lot of Taric play as well, but the supports that are more aggressive. But Lulu not really used that much, so it's nice to see people picking her up and giving her a chance to play as well. And then the other thing, that top lane, interesting matchup. We didn't talk too much about that. Just a quick word. Again, different styles of champions. Rumble's more useful for sort of team fighting, although he is a very strong laner. Nidalee is more that split pushing, poking champion. So that's a nice contrast between those top lane champions.
Yeah, I gotta say, it will make sort of the early mid-game ganks a little bit scarier for Nidalee. Nidalee, one of the best getaways, but with the combination of Rumble and Lee Sin, especially if he gets a little tanky stuff added on to himself, tower dive's not going to be something that anybody's going to be scared of up top, as Balls is going to be pretty tanky just sort of innately, and Lee Sin's got a million jumps, so he's going to be able to get under there. Nidalee, not quite as much ability to move around as Lee Sin, so a lot of danger there, I think, moving into the to the early part of the mid game up top. If Zion Spartan overextends himself, he could pay for it. Pretty rough, but that that'll see whether they manage to get anybody shut down. It looks like Ezreal going to start blocking up top. They may do a lane switch with Rumble.
We will see. They only just started. We'll have to figure out what they're going to do here. One other thing to note: Balls, the Rumble player, did actually take Exhaust and not Ignite. So that's a little bit different. That may be designed just to cut down on that mobility of Nidalee, but it is surprising. You usually see Ignite on those top laners, not Exhaust. So that's a little bit different. There's actually a Mana Potion on Morgana to start, which is very unusual there, coming out from Mandatory Cloud. So it looks like he is a utility spec because he has enough to get boots, 3 pots, and a Mana Potion, which is all that a little bit unusual. So right now everybody's kind of divided around the map on both teams. Let's see if they group up and decide to go for a level 1. Both teams are pretty decent level 1s. We do have Morgana on mTw. We do have Alistar on Dynamic, strong level 1 champs. And let's see if anybody actually does end up sort of getting caught here. There are a lot of Nidalee traps out on the map already, so that's going to give a little bit of extra vision to Dynamic here. Maybe give them a little bit of an edge.
Yeah, in this case, it looks like they're just going to give it up. Nidalee heading back to base. Are they going to catch wind of the lane swap? That's one of those things that's become very popular lately. Everybody kind of doing more of a casual jungle defend rather than just going straight in for level 1 moves, and the team fights, as I think those started proving a little bit too risky early on, especially if your top laner and somebody important like that got caught out. So I think people decided to give that one up. We do have mTw moving in for a blue steal. Got the polymorph off on Zion Spartan, but he gets away at half health, and it looks like blue, are they going to give up on it? They got caught out, so it looks like they may well give up on it, but it may delay Nunu just a bit in the jungle, as he's going to have to handle wolves and blue, possibly all by his lonesome.
Yeah, and you were absolutely right, Wombat, when you said it looked like that mTw was going to send their normal bottom lane up the top lane. They have indeed done that, so it looks like it's going to be Nidalee 1v2 in the top lane and Rumble 1v2 in the bottom lane, and so far, Balls seems to have gotten the worst end of that. Probably is a little bit worse off for Rumble just because he doesn't have quite the range that Nidalee does. He doesn't have the sustain until he gets his Hextech Revolver, and Alistar can probably zone a little bit more effectively than Lulu can, but I mean, it's just such an unusual sort of situation to be in. This early game is going to come down to who can play these 1v2 lanes a little bit better on their side of things.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always a risk in my mind. I'm always just like, when people were like, they switch up to 1v2, whoever chooses it, I'm always kind of like, oh man, that's a scary one. Especially up against an Alistar Graves lane. Balls is going to be fairly tanky early on, but man, Alistar Graves is going to be able to put so much damage down consistently. Nidalee's at least able to play at a distance here, so it feels like this one might work a little better for Team Dynamic. Afromu doing a good job playing aggressive, and with Lulu there to back him up, he knows he's got shield and good damage output, slow, polymorph, all that good stuff. So he might be able to play aggressive enough to keep Zion Spartan ranged out of a little bit of XP, but yeah, like you were saying, Ball's definitely getting the worst of it down bottom, and I'm a little worried about him. We'll see how I can farm under tower.
Yeah, look at this. There's a blue steal going on right now on the part of Dynamic. Dad Lantha jumping in there, and with his consume, and it looks like does he have his smite up as well? No, his smite's about to come off cooldown. It looks like they're probably going to be able to take this blow. And, I mean, it's not a huge deal, but it will definitely sit behind Xmithy. As Lee Sin, he's not a jungler that is hugely reliant on blue buff, but again, he will lose that golden experience, and it just a little bit of a minor advantage early on for Dynamic.
Yeah, the golden experience definitely the major hit right there. Is Morgana can generally sort of, she's not going to be able to force the lane and then wander around if Mandatory Cloud wanted to do that. Because with blue, obviously, she'd be able to just spam whatever she wanted all the time, maybe force the lane, get herself down bot or up top.
Dynamic's setting up for a dive in bottom lane. Let's keep an eye on this.
Yep, they've got Alistar Nunu in behind. Ball's out. He is popped out of turret range. Zig gets clear with the slide. First blood down without any trouble whatsoever there. And assists out to 2 members of Team Dynamic. Really, that lane switch, which, like I said, looks to have been initiated by mTw.NA has not been working out great for him so far.
No, that was a definite. If mTw was the one who initiated, and by all accounts it looked like they did, that was a major backfire. Also, a terrible time for poor Balls to die because he missed out on quite a bit of golden experience. If you watch, Dynamic is pushing another wave to the tower, so he's going to be quite a bit behind, not just in last hits, but he's actually trailing behind on experience as well. Nidalee is not doing much better. It's actually 6-8 on the in terms of CS for the two 1v2 champions. So neither one of them is having much of a game here. They've both been denied pretty hard, but a little bit worse off for Balls right now, just because of the fact that he actually did get dived and killed. But really nicely planned and nicely played by Dynamic to dive at just the correct moment.
Yeah, really wonderfully timed right there. Zion Spartan now pushed under his tower. He's trying desperately to stay in a good spot. Afro Moo, with the help of that shield, going to be a little bit manly and just go ahead and take a shot at Zion Spartan. He's got all that back already, and he's going to get a little bit of farm done, but Rumble's still staying ahead down there, so he might be able to pull that deficit back. The only problem is Will, Graves, and Alistair. I mean, Alistair just going to keep getting tankier. Graves going to keep getting more and more damage output. Will he be able to stand up to that? Will he be able to scale out of it? At least long enough for them to find the time that they really want to switch it back and, you know, allow Balls to go up top. Will he be able to stand up to Zion Spartan when they send him back up top?
Yeah, well, we'll see if when and if they decide to go back to sort of the normal configuration. Nunu has actually already picked up a Vision Warden right now, so that may indicate that Dynamic wants to make an early play for Dragon, the fact that he picked that up. We'll see. Try to keep an eye on that. As for everything else on the map right now, not too much difference. It looks like mid is basically even right now. Nidalee has gone back and picked up a Doran's Blade and a Mana Potion, but it's really, the bottom lane has been the biggest difference. Oh, right now, Ball's getting caught out against the wall, but Lee Sin is there right now.
They're going to set up on Pixel as Zig's a little too far back, but Pixel just too tanky for the moment. Going to turn that one around and start up on Smithy as he disengages and heads back to the tower. Does not get clear as the buckshot finishes the kill. Now Balls runs low, but he's going to be able to get out of the danger zone.
Oh, that was really nicely played by Zig right there. He realized he had his... no, his Ignite was not up, but he still was able to get the kill with the flash and a buckshot right there. And again, this is more minions hitting the tower in bottom lane that are not being taken by anyone on mTw. That's why Dynamic has rolled out to the 1,000 gold lead. The kills, of course, amount for gold, but all those minions hitting the tower and not getting farmed are where the rest of the gold comes from. And it looks like they are going to rotate over to Dragon, going to kill that ward, and then make a play for it right now.
Yeah, and that was really, I was just about to mention, I was going to say the biggest problem that Balls is just being so ineffective down bottom is that it's going to allow them to get that Dragon. So that 1,000 gold lead is going to turn into a 2,000 gold lead here, as it doesn't look like they're going to try to contest. Lee Sin is rolling through as he knows the ward got picked up, but with Orianna to run interference, Smithy's going to have a hard time getting in. He's taking the long way around. He's just going to disengage and give that one up. Free Dragon over to Team Dynamic here early on.
Yeah, Smithy, the Lee Sin player, he's actually only level 4. He's pretty low level, so there wasn't really a whole lot that he could do right there. Meanwhile, Zion Spartan, he's not really farming. He's only on 17 CS, but he is still getting experience at the tower. And that's more than Balls can say, because Zion Spartan's level 6 and Balls is only level 4. So can see how Zion Spartan, I mean, he's not farming like we said, but at least he's soaking up the XP, whereas Rumble has not been doing that. Rumble being forced right now, as we can see, to jungle the double golems. It looks like he's shifting over to top lane, but he's pretty far behind. Although it looks like mTw is going to make a play for the blue buff of Dynamic, and maybe they'll be able to get something out of this if they can make this steal happen.
I'm going to start up on this in a minute. Looks like Orianna is coming over along with Nunu. ManCloud in the jungle there. The ult going to come out flash free. Gets Paradoxical clear of it. ManCloud going to have to eat the ult off Paradoxical. And Lee Sin comes in with Dadlana running low. And Zion Spartan too far out the back. They need some time for defense into Cougar form. But Balls joins the fight. Is that going to be too many? Team Dynamic disengages and is going to be able to get clear without losing anybody in that one. But a very dangerous situation for them. mTw looks like everybody's going to make it back out to the lane without a problem.
A lot of people low on both sides, but nobody actually falling. Not a single death on either side, and it's going to be a net even trade for both sides, 0 for 0. So feels like Dynamic came out a little bit ahead there just because they did not lose their blue buff while mTw is trying to steal. And we actually are going to swap back to our normal laning configurations as the ADs are heading back down the bottom lane with their supports. And meanwhile, the two horribly underfarmed top laners are actually going to get a chance to CS for a while here and see if they can do something about their low minion kill total. So they're both going to be in top lane. And Zion Spartan, probably a little bit ahead. He's gonna get ahead in minion kills here right now because there's a wave hitting his tower. And overall, Dynamic, a 2,000 gold lead right now. A fairly substantial lead for this early in the game with those 2 kills and the dragon get you. But certainly a game that can still go either way. It's just going to come down to who can get the next dragon and who can pull off ganks more effectively here, looking as we continue to go forward here. But one thing I will mention, Graves, Zig, the Graves player, is 2-0. That BF sword is going to give him a nice advantage in that bottom lane.
Yeah, absolutely. With Afromu, though, especially with him on Ezreal, it's one of those things where it's an advantage now, but you can really never count him out. He does have the CS lead just by a bit. Mentioning that, the reason he's 2-0 are those kills on balls, which gives me that concern, as Zion Spartan's not the kind of guy to just sit back necessarily and farm once he's on lane against another top laner. And maybe that was the idea behind the switch for mTw.NA. They're saying Zion Spartan's an aggressive guy, will go up there and take care of him. But like I said, he's able to adapt his play style. He's not just playing straight up aggressive all the time anymore. And he came out better than balls, not too far behind other than the death, but it could mean Zion Spartan now going to find a little bit of time to start being aggressive against poor Rumble up top.
Yeah, so we'll see. And Nidalee definitely has a slight, well, not a slight advantage. 2 levels up, that's a pretty big advantage. In that bottom lane, Zig, the Graves player, 159 AD. Afromu, the Ezreal player, 116 AD. That's a pretty big difference. That's what the difference that BF sword makes. Now, Afromu has better mobility because he's Ezreal. He can avoid fighting fights. He doesn't want to fight just because of his arcane shift. But in terms of raw damage, the edge is definitely on the side of Graves right now. We actually do have a little bit of action in mid, but it looks like Paradoxical is going to be okay. Paradoxical actually going with the Chalice build, which is a little bit unusual. You don't see that. You do see that sometimes, but I mean, it makes sense against a double AP team comp. He can use that and build it into the Unholy Grail later on. So a little bit unusual, but against this particular team comp, makes sense. Oh, there's a fight going on mid.
Yeah, and not a bad move to get that. Ooh, Smithy's going to be stuck under tower for a bit. Nunu comes in with the ult. Paradoxical almost makes it through, but the Tormented Soil is going to finish him up. Ignite ticks off. Mandatory Cloud still alive. He started to run slow. The binding at point-blank range. Going to make it through. Nidalee gets picked up top in a dive attempt on balls, who managed to hold on to his life up there.
Yeah, straight 1-for-1 fight up in top lane. I didn't see that because we were watching the other fight. Zion Spartan dove past the tower. That's how he ended up dying. We were going to say, well, Zion was so far ahead. How did he end up dying in that fight? Well, he dove way past the tower, tanked about 3 or 4 tower shots, and that's why he ended up dying. So you mentioned he's an aggressive player, and the key thing in League of Legends is that you want to be aggressive, but you don't want to be overly aggressive. And unfortunately for him, looks like that was clearly a case where he was a little bit overly aggressive, tanking those tower shots, and then ending up paying for it in that, out on second best in that matchup.
Yeah. I gotta say, the one thing though about the Chalice build on Orianna, the way they've retooled her stuff so that you can chain those skills so very quickly, really starts to put her into a league with people like Cassiopeia and Anivia, where you need to be able to pop those skills quickly. Not necessarily just for lane clearing, because she's pretty good at last hitting, but most definitely for harass and things like that. It really just ends up being a lovely thing to be able to toss that out and then relax a little bit, get most of that mana back. So I like that people are starting to use it, though. Athene's Unholy Grail has really brought Chalice, back onto the field. You don't feel quite so bad about buying it anymore.
No, it's just not a good idea generally to have those. Nobody really likes those items that don't build into anything. We actually still got more action going on here mid. Paradoxical is going to try to flash out of the Morgana ult. Lee Sin going to jump. There's the dragon kick backwards. Oh, a great Orianna ult, but it's not quite going to be enough. Paradoxical will fall on a nice gank from X-Smithy there in mid. So almost picking up that kill with a nice Orianna ult. Not quite being able to get it, though.
And yeah, and the thing about that one, man, Dynamic had bottom and top river bush warded down under the inner mid tower. Zion Spartan decides to try to make a move on Mandatory Cloud, finds Smithy there and can't quite pick him up. Does land a spear at pretty nice range, but it's not quite enough to do it. Still a nice little lead for Team Dynamic, though. They're out 1,300 gold, and looks like they might have some free time here with the Dragon that's going to be spent casually picking it up and killing it. Zig going to come up and join everybody back for mTw, so that's free Dragon number 2 for Team Dynamic. Going to put that lead back into a nice spot.
Right, that's an easy dragon for them to pick up, especially with the Oracle on Nunu. Everybody, the jungler and mid for MTW, both way too damaged, had to go back to base. I think Zion Spartan actually would have picked up the kill with that Nidalee Spear, but a nice Black Shield coming out from Mandatory Cloud, blocking a lot of the damage from that Spear. It maybe not would have gotten it. It would have been very, very close. But those two dragons, really the biggest difference in the game right now in terms of the global gold total. A little bit over 2,000 gold for Dynamic, and that's pretty much accounted for by the two dragons that they've taken. MTW hanging in there, has pulled off more of the plays recently, but unfortunately not able to pick up that dragon. So Dynamic's going to hold on to more or less the lead that they've had already. And they actually have quite a few gold pretends on their team as well, sitting there ticking. I only see the one Philosopher's Stone on Lulu for MTW, so the passive gold looks like it is in favor of Dynamic as well in terms of the items they've picked up.
Zion Spartan making his moves up top as Dadlanta comes sliding through the back into Tri-Brush. Dadlanta going to land the snowball, slow him on down. Ult comes out. Ball's going to drop his ults. Not enough as Zion Spartan picks that one up handily under the tower with a little bit of help from Nunu. And finally Dadlanta starting to show some presence on the map other than those bot lane early on against poor Rumble. Still feel bad for him. He only died once in the early game, but it still feels like he had a rough time down there.
No, that was a nicely played kill. Again, the Oracle allows Atlanta to clear out the wards, make sure that there's no vision. He just comes in from behind. Blood Boil onto Zion Spartan, the slow from his snowball, then the ultimate. I believe that Atlanta had red buff when he initially went in on that as well. So nicely played, a nice kill, and it gets them a tower as well. So that's going to increase the lead to almost 4,000 gold right now for Team Dynamic. Although Mandatory Cloud is coming in for a gank down in bot. Let's see what happens down here.
Yeah, Pixel going to catch him out. The Spell Shield going to stop the pull from putting him up in the air. Ult's down. It does land on Pixel. Zig going low and stuck in there. Ezreal ult comes through. Is good. And Afro move going to force Pixel to disengage. Not going to leave himself. However, he's going to come straight in, headbutt it into the tower. Exhausted, but the Lulu ult's going to give him the time and health that he needs to get clear of the tower. Atlanta not giving up the chase as Zion Spartan's on his way down. Muffin Cutie going to tank the tower out. Gets the extra shield and move speed to get clear of that one, and nice clean kill there by mTw.NA, double kill I should say for their team. Zion Spartan down, Afro Moo going to run interference, and Lee Sin going to get out clean. So a nice clean one there on bot lane for mTw.NA.
Yeah, everybody making it out safe for MTW, or I think they're making it out safe. Paradoxical is in the area. They may end up losing their blue buff for this. We will see. But a lot of people quite low. No, X-Smithy's going back in, but he's going to get hit by the Orianna ult, and he does have an ignite on him. Is this going to pick up the kill? No, last tick not enough to pick up the kill. Oh, but Zion Spartan out for blood, going to flash in to get that kill. He is still chasing it, gets polymorph, a nice clutch polymorph from Muffin Cutie. Mandatory Cloud going to go down. Zion Spartan going to fall as well. Still chasing on this. Paradoxical very, very low right now. He's going to use that shield, but it's not enough. He will fall. So what is this exchange now? 2 for 2, I believe, on the two sides.
2 for 2 in that fight. 2 for 4 overall, if you want to count it as part of the last one, and a top tower for mTw.NA as they lose Smithy and Mandatory Cloud in exchange for Pixel, Zig, Paradoxical, and Zion Spartan overall.
Yeah, it looks like, there's a nice arcane shift from Afro, just blinking out away from an Alistar headbutt. So overall, MTW coming out ahead there. They went even, ended up getting more kills, and they also had Rumble free farming top and taking top tower. And now he's going to go ahead and steal the blue buff away from Dynamic. So that sequence definitely coming out in favor of MTW. Picking up the kills, getting that top tower, Rumble free farming top. And it looks like Nidalee's going to come in. Let's see who actually does get this blue. Nidalee is going to take this one, so nicely done. Zion Spartan getting there at exactly the right moment to pick up his own blue buff.
He is all alone, so if Zion Spartan continues to run this down, he could be in a little bit of trouble. Gets the slow onto Zion Spartan, though, so that's going to stop those shenanigans. Zion Spartan going to come over and just wanted to be able to farm comfortably, more likely. I'm sure he would have been happy with the kill, but full health on Rumble is going to be kind of hard to tick through without any assistance from MTW, because they would have come up and gotten him.
Right. So yeah, I mean, overall, it's really quite even in the teams in terms of farm, in terms of kill. The difference is just the global gold. It's the two dragons and the fact that Dynamic has one more tower down. Other than that, it's pretty much even in these games. Not seeing too much of a difference here between the two teams. So as they start to shift into the mid game and then into the late game, it's going to be about which teams can group up and work together better as a team. And Balls looks like he might be in a lot of trouble here.
Caught out by Pixel. Dadlanta drops the snowball. He's going to be slowed for about 9 years. Ult's out now. That's going to put a good chunk down. Ball's going low, not going to get out of that one. There was no way in the world without some kind of crazy glitch that he was getting free of that. Zion Spartan gets the kill. The money goes in a good direction once again, as both those tanky big fat guys don't really need anything to help them out throughout the game. And the more damage, the more money they put onto Zion Spartan, the scarier this game is going to start to be for mTw.NA. A Baron attempt now at 19.5 minutes. ManCloud coming over as he's got a read on it. Lee Sin on the other side, but they have no vision in the pit. They continue to chase ManCloud on. It looks like they haven't actually realized that there is a Baron attempt going on. The pings do come down. Baron starting to get towards half health. It's taken him a while on this one, as that is a very early Baron attempt.
Yeah, they needed... Oh, wow, Pixel getting binded. Actually still on Baron aggro right there, but it looks like he's going to be okay. That could have been really bad for Dynamic. It could have been really good for them if mTw didn't react, but mTw did react in time. So it looks like it's going to be a Baron for neither side right now. Although we do actually have mTw kind of lurking here in the brush, trying to see if they can get somebody to face check, but I don't think that's quite going to happen. And probably our next big fight is going to be over the next Dragon, not over Baron.
Yep. Mid outer, gonna just get a light defense here. Dadlana getting a little close to Smithy, who's still hanging out in that bush. Paradoxical gonna continue to follow. Out comes Smithy. He gets the kick, but it gets clear, does not get clear. The Ezreal ult's gonna shut that one down. Smithy now burning under the ignite. He gets a shield from Lulu, and that's gonna buy him the time he needs to get free. Zion Spartan running into a very dangerous bush, but he gets out as the Ball's ult misses everybody through the middle. And TD going to have time to reset and set up a defense here, as Lee Sin's going to be ineffective. Afro moves a little low as well, so yeah, mTw just going to give this one up.
So well baited by Smithy and the rest of mTw. They made it look like there was nobody else there, and all of a sudden Lee Sin was right there, jumping out of the brush and picking up that kill on Paradoxical's Orianna. Right now, the team's actually going to make a trade right now. mTw is going to take mid tower. Dignitas is going to take their third dragon, so they now have all of the dragons. Again, they were on top of that because they had the timer. I'm pretty sure mTw did not have the timer. They weren't sure when that dragon was going to respawn, so Dynamic, Johnny on the spot right there, killing it the instant that it respawns. Again, knowing the timer. So, like I said, in exchange, they both get roughly the same amount. I believe Dragon's worth slightly more than the mid tower, but pretty even exchange. Yeah, pretty even exchange overall there between the two teams. And we've got ourselves a good match here. It really can continue to go either way between these teams, and we've seen a lot of nice back and forth. 8-7 in kills, very even, and we've got some pretty strong champs on both sides. We've got Aframu's Ezreal, 302 with the Trinity Force. We're going to see where he goes for next, probably either Infinity Edge or Bloodthirster for that next item. Graves has his Bloodthirster, and it looks like he's working towards his Phantom Dancer right there. Yeah, and Morgana's got her Zanya's Hourglass, so we're starting to see the first items completed. Champs are getting pretty strong. And it'll be fun to see where they go from here. See if, particularly if Dynamic going to try to use Nidalee to split Porce, or if Nidalee's going to stay with the rest of the team now that they get into sort of this late game portion of the match. So we will see what Zion Spartan decides to do. Let's see, what does he have? He has that Sheen. Looks like he's going for a Trinity Force. And yeah, I'm not sure exactly how they're going to use him, but we will see.
Yeah, everybody just kind of poking around. Rumble getting the lane sent back in the right direction. Top TD waiting as mTw is hanging out mid. Got Smithy dropping a Q through the bushes, and they're just going to come out and clean the lane. Nobody's going to really continue along that path. Got a top river bush ward in here, but Dadlana not going to have time to get around there with that Oracles and clean it up.
Yeah, that's actually one thing that Dynamic has done that's been really helping them throughout this match. That the fact that they've had an Oracle for quite a while now, while mTw doesn't have one. With Atlanta roaming all over the map, that has helped them quite a bit because they've been able to clear out a lot of vision, whereas mTw has not had the chance to do the same since they have not picked up an Oracle at any point in time.
Ult through from Ezreal going to clear the lane, and mTw now with Mandatory Cloud having blue buff in tow, going to rejoin the fight in mid lane. At this point, we kind of move into that phase where everybody's trying to get everything into the right position to, you know, get some damage put onto a tower, and you kind of wait for Dragon. It's a little bit early for any blatant Baron attempts, but you may start seeing people dance around there. For the time being, it looks like they just want to kind of pressure mid mTw to try to control the movement of TD around the map, because they know they got a little tiny lead over him for the moment with all those Dragon pickups.
Right. I mean, at this point, it's about who makes a mistake more than anything else. If even one person can get picked off, that could turn into a Baron right now for one of these teams. Dynamic, see, again, Dynamic, the fact that they have that Oracle, they're clearing out the wards, they're putting pressure on mTw, making it so mTw is blind to Baron. They're going to have to keep warding it over and over again. Someone on mTw is going to have to pick up an Oracle soon. Actually, Atlanta getting caught right here, but it looks like he's going to be able to skedaddle out of there on little Nunu legs. So, yeah, right now we do see Aphromoo. Looks like Aphromoo was able to get that turret down in bottom lane, so able to pick up a tower there. But we are, in, like we said, in that sort of mid-game stalling phase. For Dynamic, what they want to do is they want to try to get that mid tower, the only outer tower that's still up, but MTW's been defending that really well. So again, until somebody makes a mistake, we're probably not going to see too much action unless somebody gets caught out or is in the wrong spot until the next Dragon spawn, just because the teams don't want to make a mistake right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is one of those places where the really top-tier teams tend to excel, and one of those places where, you know, some of the smaller teams can fall down as the sort of patience through this part of the mid-game, you know, Dignitas very calm about things like this. CLG as well. They're able to bide their time. Aphromoo just going straight up with Zion Spartan, starting to get the worst of it. But God, those moves on Aphromoo are beautiful. Pixel going to get chunked down as he gets caught in a binding and a soil. And with Smithy in there tanking it out, he re-engages and then going to fully disengage. Did he get him far enough over? The Aphromoo ult is good, and they're going to pick up Alistair to start this one out. TD kind of deciding a little too late to engage as Zig is nowhere nearby. MTW now at full strength. They're going to lose Smithy to the back, and this one should go back into a little dance, but it looks like Atlanta just wants to roll on in and start up a fight. He goes really far in, taking a little bit of damage, but he's going to be able to get out of there as losing Smithy. No, he's still in there, but Smithy's not going to want to engage on this anyway. They may just give up mid-outer, defending it, trying to clear the lane, but with Atlanta running in, getting polymorph. Balls is in there. Smithy working on Wraiths because he's got nothing better to do at the time. Trying to trade that one with Atlanta. Zion Spartan gets clear. Looked like the Ignite got down. He goes down to Aphromu's Ignite as the fight continues. And a timely re-entry by Smithy. Going to save Aphromoo from death. Paradoxical now picking up the kill on Rumble. Muffin Cutie a little too far out the back. Lulu's gone, and that one's going to turn into a, I believe, 2-for-2 trade overall.
Yeah, 2-for-2 considering that, yes, because Alistar died earlier. Yeah, a lot of back and forth in that fight. Dynamic wanted to force that fight because they knew that some people on MTW were low, even though they didn't have the numbers edge because Alistar died earlier, so that's why they forced the fight. And while they're making an aggressive play for Baron here, let's see if they're going to be able to do this. Paradoxical is zoning away Mandatory Cloud, though, getting a lot of poke with that Orianna ball, but this could be really dangerous for Dynamic because they're taking a lot of damage from Baron here.
Looks like they've successfully distracted Smithy. Is he going to be able to get back in time for Baron? It's down to about 2,000 health. He's waiting to make his move in, and Paradoxical doing a great job running interference. Will he get it? He goes down before Baron's Smite's timer is up. Orianna gets picked up by Aphromoo up top, and Team Dynamic will indeed secure Baron. That's just a little too early on that jump in for Smithy.
Beautifully played by Dynamic. They just stopped DPSing the Baron right when it was around 2,000 health. They knew that Xmithy was going to jump in and try to smite steal it. So they just stopped doing any damage to Baron. When he jumped in, they all turned, focused him, killed him, left Baron with enough health so that he could not smite the Baron and steal it. So they just turn, immediately kill Lee Sin, and then finish off the Baron. They did lose Paradoxical, but they picked up Baron in the exchange. They're more than happy to make that trade since they'll have Baron on 4 members of their team, and the rest of their team will all get the gold benefit from it. So out to a 5,000 gold lead, and with Baron buff on everyone other than Paradoxical, Dynamic's got to be really happy with how that last exchange turned out for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Paradoxical's interference run there was just fantastic. Aphromoo going to start up on Dragon now as they're going to try and get just a little bit back on that one. They're going to get that one taken care of. Nice and easy as Ezreal finishes up Dragon. It is still going to leave a pretty nice little difference in gold here, 4,000. Finally back up to where they were earlier in the game, but this time carrying a Baron buff around. But Paradoxical did a great job just buying time there. It was so distracting and dangerous enough to do that job of being distracting properly.
He would have gotten the kill on Mandatory Cloud's Morgana as well, but a great use of Zanya's Hourglass by Mandatory Cloud. Right when he was about to die, he popped the Hourglass, and that allowed him to survive that particular fight. So right now, we'll see. Dynamic's going to have to look to push right now while they've got that Baron buff. They want to try to get something out of the fact that they've got this buff on most of their team. We'll see where they choose to go. Strongest champs in the game right now are Graves and Ezreal, the 2 ADs. Really quite strong. Ezreal, Aphromoo is Ezreal, Trinity Force, and Infinity Edge. That is a very scary combination. But meanwhile, Zig playing as Graves, he has Bloodthirster, Phantom Dancer, and Last Whisper. So if you check the gold total, they're both over 10,000 right now. Nobody else in the game over 10,000. Morgana's next closest with 9,200. So the two of them are going to be the focus of these fights. It's going to be all about who can protect their ADs a little bit better in these exchanges, because they're both going to be dealing very large amounts of damage if they can keep them safe in these upcoming fights.
And that's really what it comes down to. With Atlanta sitting with a pretty nice chunk of gold himself, though, that's going to get harder and harder as he's starting to get along in that tankiness build. Starting to get there for Alistair as well. Obviously, he's a little bit slower in it, but he's starting to get some magic resist in there, which is going to hopefully help make Morgana a little bit less dangerous, because she has been chunking down just about everybody. If those bindings land, it's putting good hurt on everybody. And obviously, it's hard to move with those things floating around you and being very distracting. But we'll see how it continues to move here. Ball's going to pick up Wraiths, and the dance begins middle. In this case, we would expect to see TD start pressuring down mid with all those Baron buffs, but it's kind of an awkward position.
Well, what they're doing is they're looking to split push with Nidalee right now. Nidalee's not particularly good in a team fight, so they're going to have Zion split, and they're going to wait for mTw to send someone to top lane to deal with that split. And then when it's a 4-on-4, they'll look to fight once it's 4-on-4. That's what they're looking to do right now. They're going to force someone to go top to deal with Nidalee.
Rumble going to try and move up and be the one to do that, but they've got good lane clear potential with Aphromoo and Morgana, with Ezreal and Morgana in there. Zion Spartan going up against Balls. They do have the split that they want now, as Nidalee can absolutely turn into a tower devouring machine. They're going to send Nunu and Alistair up, however, and try to turn this one to an outright kill on Balls. They're going to catch him out. Snowball lands. A headbutt does not, with a really nicely timed flash there from Balls. Ult gets popped early, and Balls with an opportunity with the Lulu ult to try to turn this one around. A little bit slow for the rest of the team to join in, but Aphromoo there, and that's enough really to get Team Dynamic out of it. Smithy going to ult Pixel, tries to get him back into the fight so they can turn it around on him, but nothing happens there.
That was really well played by Balls and by Muffin Cutie. Balls flashed he flashed the headbutt that would have gotten him stunned into the wall, and then Muffin Cutie came in and used the Lulu ult to interrupt that Nunu channel, so nicely done. But you see the effectiveness of the split push. Dynamic was still able to get the top lane anyway. They were able to get that top tower, and it looks like they may be sending Zion down to bottom lane to try the same thing once again, just in bottom lane instead of top. Perhaps, we'll see. But it certainly did work there before, and that's the kind of thing you need to do when you pick Nidalee as a champ. Counter Logic Gaming with Hotshot, when he played Nidalee endlessly, were sort of infamous for doing this. And look, see, here it is again. Zion's in bottom lane. They're just going to try to use Nidalee's maneuverability to split push and just take these towers.
Yep, Smithy going to come in, but Zion doesn't care. He's actually going to hit Smithy and start tanking the tower. He's still got time to get clear, as now the pressure is going to start moving down mid. Paradoxical and Pixel swinging back up. Aphromoo still here to defend. The cannon minion going to go down to his shots, and they're going to lose that creep wave and give everybody time from mTw to get back into range. But now the lead poking out towards 7,000 gold as the tower count goes 5-3. Still the global gold, the major difference in this fight between TD and mTw.
Right. See, the whole problem right now is Balls playing Rumble is not able to 1v1 Zion Spartan playing Nidalee, and that means Nidalee can just hit and run and use that mobility. And every time that Nidalee keeps pushing, mTw has to send a second champion to the lane. It's not enough to just have Rumble there. They need to send someone else too. And as soon as they do that, the rest of Dynamic will push in another lane. So this is one of the most frustrating things to deal with. If you send two champions after Nidalee, she just runs away. And if it's 1v1, then she's just going to push the lane and poke down the towers. It's a very, very irritating thing to play against. mTw needs to stay calm and keep their cool and just be ready for the next big objectives for Dragon and Baron to respawn, and not sort of get thrown out of countenance here by Nidalee just sort of irritating them and throwing those spears and poking away and continuing to push those towers, because that's what Zion Spartan's going to do. Nidalee, like we said, is not good in a team fight. The team fight is better for mTw. They want to have a 5-on-5 team fight, so Dynamic is going to try to not give them that 5-on-5 team fight and just continue what they've been doing, which has been a very effective split push.
And like you said, with that split pushing, it's really getting to the very, very dangerous part of the game, where that split push is going to start hitting inhibitor towers and inhibitors. And once that starts getting pulled over, it just becomes such an awkward fight. Every time you see a split push, once mid-inner goes down, it's really going to be awkward for mTw to try to make decisions here, especially when they get that first inhibitor down. Those super minions start coming in, and you're forced to go clean them up, or you're going to start losing your Nexus turrets if you just focus on trying to take on TD head-on. It really, you have to have top-level decision-making to make it through those kind of decisions and come out a winner.
Now, MTW's done something a little bit different. They've sent Ezreal to bottom lane. Ezreal's the strongest member of their team. Ezreal can beat Nidalee 1v1, and that may end up happening here. Let's see what the outcome of this fight right here.
Nice to start it out, and Zion Spartan losing this one in a hurry. Afromu just so hard to hold in place, but TD gonna get a Baron. As a result, Smithy comes over to check it just in time to see that it's not there and probably be a little bit sad as a result. Atlanta going to come back over. They don't actually finish up the ward because Baron's going to be down longer than that ward's going to be there, so not too much to worry about there. And they head back to mid lane. Once Nidalee's back up, which is still a ways away, they can sort of regroup and start to pressure. Yeah, it looks like they might back and buy themselves some snacks.
Right. So right there, you see the cost of sending Afromu. Now, Afromu, because he's the strongest member of mTw, he can beat Zion Spartan's Nidalee in a 1v1. He's stronger in a 1v1, but if he goes down to bottom lane and to deal with the split push, that means that Ezreal's not with the rest of the team in a team fight, and they're going to lose the team fight without Ezreal there. So the rest of Dynamic knew that they could initiate that Baron because they knew Ezreal wasn't there, and if it's a 4-on-4 with their 4 minus Nidalee against mTw's 4 minus Ezreal, they're going to win that team fight. So they were very confident that they could force a fight at that Baron, and we see they end up trading a Baron for 1 kill. Baron worth significantly more than 1 kill. So Dynamic once again coming out ahead, and now that Nidalee's alive again, they can look to push with 4 members of their team having Baron, and Zion Spartan is going to be off on an island again. He looks like he's going to be in top lane this time. And once again, they're just going to try. I'm assuming they're going to do the same thing that they did before, just split push, and then see how mTw reacts.
Zig kind of holding the front of the line, making sure that he can get the lane cleared. The lane's starting to push their way as Afromu eats through it quickly. Just going to disengage now as they don't want to get themselves in too bad of a position. Might make a move on Dragon here as Ezreal's coming down. He may just do it by himself, actually. Here come Morgana and Muffin Beauty on Lulu to help out. While Team Dynamic still hanging out mid, they don't have a read on this one as their ward coverage has started to slouch just a little bit. They've got topside covered pretty well, but that's mostly left over from the Baron pickup.
Right. We might see Dynamic getting caught out here in middle lane with Morgana up. Alistar is getting caught. This could turn into a big team fight. Let's find out.
Really nice shield right there from Mandatory Cloud. Going to keep Afromu from getting headbutted and keep Pixel in the damage area for the time being. Sadly, they have no minions to follow this up as TD Pixel has enough health to get clear of the tower.
And Zion's actually behind the team right now. I don't know where he is. This is very odd.
Yeah, if they turn around and just run back, he could be in trouble. He gets spotted by the minions, he's going to turn around and leave. Smithy trying to catch him, just misses that Q through. And Zion Spartan going to buy himself one of those 9 lives that he must have in cat form. Don't know, just missed it. Misses that Q again, I think? Was that spinning around him? It was hard to see with the health bar in the way. Yeah, it looked like it might have gotten him, but Smithy going to have to run clear as the rest of Team Dynamic has joined their friend Zion Spartan in the area. The move now on mid-inner. Zig going to use that attack speed booster to try and get through the tower as quickly as possible. They lose their minions. Atlanta going to take a couple shots and the reset while the minion wave comes in. Zion Spartan going to come through and look at top inhibitor tower. Ball's going to come up. That minion wave gets taken out pretty quickly. The cost is mid-inner tower as mTw.NA does not put up a fight. Got to save these inhibitor turrets. Now the fight starts around the inhibitor turrets, and this is where the split push starts to get really awkward, and those decisions become very, very important, especially with the amount of money that TD's got sitting on him. 9,000 gold out front.
Yeah, and this is such a nightmare for the camera operators trying to watch both sides of the fight at once and see what goes on. But yeah, Zion Spartan, he's just gonna get a little more of this tower every single minion wave, and mTw is put in a bad situation. They have to try to force an engagement here somewhere. It looks like Afromu just went back to buy, just went back to heal. I'm assuming as soon as he gets back, mTw is going to try to initiate a fight here. They have to do something before these towers go down.
Yeah, and with that Baron buff in there, it's just so hard to make that call. Do you engage on this? Nidalee, obviously you're going to lose mid-inhibitor turret if you head up. You don't want to do that, but do you bring Rumble down and then just try to pick Nidalee up in the aftermath? There's no real great answer to this situation other than hoping somebody from Team Dynamic gets out of position. There goes top inhibitor turret. And now the pressure can head to bottom. No, they're going to get mid at the same instant as it had gone low enough. They're going to just start working on the inhibitor. It's going to get poked out by mTw as the team rejoins. Smithy jumping in. Man Cloud almost got that onto everybody, but everybody gets clear, and only one person going to end up in the second tick. Nunu ult's going to keep everybody zoned out for the time being. Pixel too slow, and the rest of Team Dynamic a little too low to engage this fight, as it looks like for the moment mTw.NA is getting the better of it. Afromu caught out of position. He somehow just absolutely destroys Alistar, standing straight up with him under the the hammer of two different people. Orianna going to get Ezreal on the other side of it. Looks like it might be time to reset on everybody as Paradoxical a little bit low, Zig kind of low at the back as well, and Nidalee just disengaging entirely.
So many shields going on to Zion Spartan. He got saved by the Orianna shield right there. Would have fun. A really nice Orianna ult by Paradoxical. It was a great flash in by Mandatory Cloud and a good Morgana ult, but everybody was able to break the tethers on the Soul Shackles, and really close fight, but with Dynamic just coming out on top. And they've just run the split push so effectively here. There's the quick silver from Zig to get out of that binding. Really nicely done. Now we see the tail end of a fight going on right here. Mandatory Cloud's going to Zanya's. I don't know if that's going to be enough right now. No, the Buckshot is going to take him down. Unfortunately, Black Shield does not work against Buckshot. It's physical damage. So it looks like Dynamic may be on the verge of policing this one off and taking the first game in the series.
Yeah, Zion Spartan going to come over and just go to town on this one. They're just going to tank the turret straight out. Zion Spartan going to almost be able to get through it. There it goes. Bottom inhibitor turret down. 2 inhibitors and all inhibitor turrets completely off the field. Smithy trying to catch everybody up. Misses his Q, and Team Dynamic gets clear. A nice little gambit to pick up the last inhibitor turret. They are sitting pretty at 12,500 gold in the lead through 40 minutes of play. mTw just slowly falling too far behind here to really be able to do much about it. They're going to need some really patient play and some great pickups and some mistakes out of TD to get back in it.
Oh, this has to be a really frustrating game for mTw. They've played really well. We're seeing random Zanyas from Paradoxical. I was assuming a surrender vote came out, but no, not a surrender vote. Anyways, I was saying a really frustrating game for mTw. They've played really well. The fights have been so even. It's just been the global gold that's been affecting them. Dynamic taking so many of those dragons. They took the first 3 dragons, and then they've taken 2 barons, and then once they got those barons, just going into that split push and just ever so slowly just snowballing them out of the game. But it hasn't been the champion kills, it hasn't been the farming, it's been the towers, the dragons, and then the barons that's been the difference in this match, and they just slowly rolled these advantages into a dominant lead. In particular, we watched them just use Nidalee to perfection in this game. I mean, Zion Spartan, you look at his KDA, 3-4-1. I mean, it looks like he has done nothing much, but he's really been the focus of their whole late game with him just going off into these side lanes and split pushing so effectively. They got 2 inhibitor turrets without even a fight, just due to their split push. So have done that really well, and this Baron fight might end up being the end of the game one way or the other. Let's see what happens here.
And it's going to be hard to time that right. They're too late. Nunu gets the smite down, and Baron Nashor goes over to Team Dynamic once again. And they're just going to go ahead and come in on Man Cloud. The binding lands. That's not going to stop Pixel. Mandatory Cloud tries to get his ult, but melts in like a 100th of a second. Just explodes. Muffin Cutie trying to get clear. Zion Spartan just brazen out front. They've got super minions in the base. They don't have enough clearing power to get it free. Afro Mood down and out. Muffin Cutie running low, doesn't make it out even with the ult. A nice timing on that one. Smithy in there, balls onto the tower. There go the Nexus turrets in a flash, and that's going to be it for game 1 here. Team Dynamic, not in a hurry, but in a dominant fashion, just time over time, getting those secondary objectives, those global objectives, and getting themselves into a really big lead there. 42 minutes later, they take the win fairly easily.
Yep, beautifully played split push using Nidalee to perfection. I don't have too much more to say than that. Just a really nicely played game by both teams. Dynamic a little better.
Yeah. That was a good one. So, like you said, no real standout. I mean, 16-13. You wouldn't think that at the end of the game this ended up being about 14,000 gold difference between the two teams.
No, just all as we were saying before, those global objectives they aren't necessarily that big in and of itself. You see Dragon, you think, oh well, 900 gold, it's not that big a deal, but they really add up. 3 dragons, 3 barons, 11 towers. It adds up and becomes a really big deal after what, we have 42 minutes of play. So ended up being the difference, but great individual efforts. In particular, Aframu, he actually didn't die until the last 2 fights. He was 8-0 and he was legendary on that game. He even got the Guardian Angel, but just not quite able to pull this one out. So we'll see what mTw is able to if they're able to regroup and show us something a little bit different in game 2.
Yeah, and it promises to be a good one there. We'll just see if mTw can get some traction. Balls had that rough early game. I feel like if he'd had a little bit better early game, he might have been more effective in deterring Nidalee and coming out front and just being a distraction. But he just wasn't able to be convincing enough, trying to stare down Zion Spartan. Couldn't scare her off, and 1-4-2 with a rough early game will do that. And 80 CS difference between the two of them at the end of the game there.